Very nice to be here. Thanks for the invitation. Very nice, particularly for the weather. It's cold and wet, still winter in Ireland, so it's nice to feel some sun. I'm going to talk about the Health and Safety Authority's 3-year strategic plan for Ireland. It's a new plan. It's been launched about 4 months at this stage, and it replaces a previous 3-year plan. So this is kind of fresh off the press. A lot of work would have been done on this back last autumn and last summer, and would have been finalised late last year for implementation this year and for the next 3 years, for 2013 to 2015. So, just a little bit about the Health and Safety Authority. We're a state agency. We're a government agency. We're not part of the government, but we report to the government, to the Department of Enterprise in Ireland. We were established in 1989 under the Safety, Health and Welfare at Work Act, and we have responsibility for protecting and for ensuring the protection of about 1.8 million workers in Ireland. We also recently took on competent authority status for a range of chemicals, the chemicals regulations, REACH and so on, and we work closely with the European Chemicals Agency in Helsinki. Also market surveillance and product safety. So we have a kind of a triple role in relation to safety, health and welfare. Our legislative role is about protecting workers from occupational injury and ill health, and the main population, the main target audience for that are people at work of all ages, all industry sectors. Nothing is excluded. 1.8 million workers in Ireland. Under the Chemicals Act, we have a responsibility for the environment and for competitiveness and innovation in the chemical sector, and ensuring, free and open movement of goods and products across Europe on the internal market, free movement of chemicals. So that affects the whole population of Ireland, 4.5 million citizens. And then under the various EU product safety directives, we have responsibility for protecting workers and the general public from unsafe articles and products. And again, that's 4.5 million citizens. So we have a role for consumers as well as workers, a very broad role. So in terms of our new strategy, like I said, a lot of the work on this would have been done in the second half of last year. So there's a context for this. And the new strategic plan, the new strategy had to take that into consideration and had to be realistic. The economic position, everybody knows what the situation is across Europe. It's not just in Ireland, but things aren't good in Ireland. There is a recession. We're about 5 or 6 years now into a recession. So resources are not what they used to be. Workplace health and safety in Ireland and the trends since 1989 when we were established. There have been big improvements, but there are issues, there are areas that, based on the data and based on analysis, we were able to identify the key areas that we needed to prioritize. And because of limited resources and declining resources and so on, that's obviously very important. The changing nature of the workforce and workplaces, again, this isn't unique to Ireland. Different sectors are growing at a much more rapid pace than maybe more traditional sectors. The construction sector, for example, is declining. Information technology is increasing. In his presentation earlier, Tim talked about nanotechnologies and so on. That's increasing. In Ireland, we have a very strong and vibrant knowledge-based knowledge-based sector. So we're talking about call centres, and Ireland is the headquarters for a lot of large American multinational corporations like Facebook, Google, Intel. So there's a differing, I suppose, working population now in Ireland than 20 or 30 years ago. Public sector reform. I mean, we are in the public sector. We are a state agency. The entire Irish public sector is in the middle of vast reform at the moment, so we are part of that. and essentially it means we have to do more with less. Again, a lot of people here might be in a similar situation. A major one is perceptions of workplace health and safety, and I think this differs, a lot compared on what country you visit. Perceptions are mixed in Ireland. A lot of people would put health and safety in the bracket of the nanny state, over-regulation, even interference. And there's a lot of misperceptions about what we do and what the role of the Health and Safety Authority is. So our new strategy had to take that into consideration as well. So I'll just quickly run through some of the recent trends in workplace health and safety in Ireland. You'll see there, or you should be able to see, hopefully, on the 3-year rolling rate, there is a decline. The trend is down on worker fatalities between 2003 and 2011. There's a little increase at the tail end of that in the last couple of years. That's mainly due to farm deaths. Farming in Ireland is the most dangerous sector in which to be employed. But the trend is down, and if I was to show that graph going back as far as 1989, it would show that worker deaths the rate has halved since 1989. So in about a 23, 24-year period, the rate has halved, which isn't bad. It's a good result. In terms of injury, which leads to 4 or more days absence from work, in Ireland, the legislation is that an employer must report these types of injuries or accidents at work that lead to 4 or more days absence from work. I'm not sure if it's the same in other countries. But again, the rolling trend is clearly down. But one of the big issues with this figure, with this graph, is that not all accidents are reported, and in some sectors, very few are reported. For example, in farming, the level of reporting is very, very low. So some of those figures need to be taken with caution. And then in the rate of 4 or more days absence from work as a result of illness, again, the trend is down. There is an increase in 2010, which we'll have to monitor the situation and see if that's an ongoing trend or just a one-off spike. Okay, so in terms of our strategy for the next 3 years, we have a mandate. This would have been part of the development of our strategy. So we have 4 key elements to our mandate: to regulate the safety, health and welfare of people at work and people affected by work activities, so not just those at work, but if work is taking place and it could be having an effect on residents nearby or customers of a business and so on, that comes into the mix. To promote improvement in the safety, health and welfare of people at work and those affected by work activities. So this is really about prevention, and in Ireland our strategy really focuses on prevention. It's obviously a much better way to go, much better use of resources to prevent accidents, to prevent injuries, try and prevent ill health in the first place than trying to deal with them after they happen. Thirdly then, to regulate and promote the safe manufacture, use, placing on the market, trade and transport of chemicals while enhancing innovation and competitiveness. So that mainly has to do with the European Chemicals Agency, ECHA, and REACH regulations and the CLP regulations and so on. And then to act as a surveillance authority in relation to unsafe products and articles. So we would have gone through a traditional strategic plan development process with our vision, our mission and our values, and this would have laid the, I suppose, the foundation for our strategic goals. In terms of our vision, really it's about trying to promote the fact that good management of health and safety should just be a day-to-day part of running a business. It shouldn't be something that gets done on a Friday evening for 5 minutes when the manager has time. It should be integrated into all aspects of business and is absolutely compatible with commercial goals and profit goals and so on that all businesses have. Our mission to protect people from death, injury and ill health arising from all work activities and chemicals. So it's a pretty noble mission. And in terms of our own values, the values of the Health and Safety Authority, the values that we expect from all our staff, commitment to customers, respect, integrity, accountability, quality and continuous improvement, speed, agility and innovation. So that would all have informed our strategy and would have been a really important aspect of our developing our strategic goals and prioritizing. I mean, there's all sorts of things we would like to do, but like any organization, we can't do everything. We have to prioritize what is the most important, what's the next most important, and so on. And certain things that we would like to do don't get done. We can't do them. We don't have unlimited resources. Again, that's not unusual. I think that would go for any organization anywhere. So we have at the end of a long and arduous process, we established 5 strategic priorities. So these are Ireland's strategic priorities for the next 3 years. This being the first year of the 3 years, so up until the end of 2015. So the first priority, to enable enterprises to comply with their legal obligations in a practical and reasonable manner. I mean, key words there really are practical and reasonable. If something isn't practical, if something isn't reasonable, we can't expect employers and employees to pay any attention, to devote any resources to it. If something is unreasonable, if something is clearly a waste of money, if something isn't required, if it's just about ticking a box, if it's just about paperwork, it's not going to work. So some of the sub-objectives under that particular priority include motivate and gain the commitment of employers and workers, provide and promote tools to simplify compliance, provide supports to small businesses. Small businesses in particular have a lack of resources. They don't have health and safety managers. Big companies have health and safety teams, health and safety managers. It's integrated into their systems. Small company employing 5, 6, 7 people. You cannot expect an organization like that to have a health and safety manager. So we have developed tools for those companies. We have developed tools to help them manage health and safety in a very cost-effective way, in a very simple, practical way. Our second priority then, to achieve a high standard of compliance with safety, health and welfare and chemical laws. This is really about our enforcement activity. We have a team of field inspectors who carry out about 12 or 13,000 inspections, workplace inspections every year. So there's a range of activity that our inspectors can take, from at the low end, verbal advice, up to written advice, up to issuing prohibition notices, which might put a ban on or a prohibition on a particular piece of machinery or something like that, up to closure, and that can be voluntary or it can be enforced, and ultimately prosecution. We can take prosecutions. We have the legal authority to take prosecutions, and we do. We take about 40 prosecutions every year. So it's a really important aspect of what we do. Our third priority then, to support the Minister in the development of a well-functioning, robust and proportionate regulatory framework. We report to the Department of Enterprise. We work under the Minister for Enterprise, one of the most important ministers in the Cabinet, and it's important that the Minister and the Department get the support that they need from us. Strategic priority 4, engage and work with people and organisations nationally and internationally to achieve our vision. We can't achieve these strategic goals on our own. We are one organisation. We have about 160 staff. We will not be successful unless we work very closely with stakeholders and representative bodies, with employer groups, with employee groups. Our board is a tripartite board. It's made up of employer representatives, employee representatives, and government representatives. So we work closely with industry bodies all the time and to try and kind of get our objectives achieved through that route. A key thing for us is students. They're obviously not workers, they're not employees, they're in school, they're in college. These are workers of the future. If we feel that we can influence these people at a very young age, they will take that with them into the workforce, and that should have an impact. And finally, to be a high-performing organisation delivering value to the Irish taxpayer, we are one of hundreds of state agencies. We are one of hundreds of organisations that receive funding from the government. We're competing for resources, we're competing for limited resources. If we're not providing value, if we're not delivering value for the taxpayer and for the government, we can't expect to receive, unlimited funds or continued funding from the government. So we have to prove that we are doing a good job and that what we're doing is an increased awareness and understanding by workers. In Ireland, the view of the Health and Safety Authority is that it's not just about employers on their own or employees on their own, and it's not about employers should do this or employees should do that. If you have very diligent employers but not employees, well then you're going to have problems, and vice versa. If you have very diligent employees and employers who aren't putting the time and commitment into this, it's not going to be successful. So it has to involve everyone. Improved employee consultation and workplace representation, access to practical tools and information for small businesses, and early intervention in relation to EU proposals that affect Ireland, so to get involved and to influence those to Ireland's interest. Make the best use of state resources and to improve the image of workplace health and safety, because it does have a negative image in Ireland, and it's up to the Health and Safety Authority with help from our stakeholders to try and address that. So that was a quick tour of our strategy. There's a lot in it, there's a lot in the strategy itself, so I hope that was of help, and if anybody wants to talk to me afterwards or contact me later at any time just about Ireland and our approach, I'm happy to do that. Thank you. Something I forgot to mention. We published last year in Ireland a guidance document for farmers for around machinery and tractors and so on, and safety on the farm. And I think that's being launched, is it? Here in Macedonia? Next week. It's been translated into Macedonian. It was developed in Ireland, and it was originally in English, but it's being launched next week in Macedonian in the local language. So I hope that's of use and helps the agricultural sector and farmers in Macedonia. Thank you.